Hey guys, welcome back. I'm your host, Andy, and today I want to discuss the Amalgam Universe, which came about during 1996, 1997, when DC and Marvel decided to have a bit of fun with some of their characters and basically pit them against each other to see who'd come out on top. As I recall, during that time, they would have a vote put in by the readers of the comic books to decide which of the characters from the battles between Marvel and DC would win. So, say for example, if there was a fight between Thor and Superman, or a fight between, say, Captain America and Batman, or the voters who are the readers would get to decide through their votes who would be the eventual winner. Interesting idea. Interesting idea. I can't knock it. Um, Obviously, not as much longevity as I suppose they were hoping for, because it didn't really last very much beyond 96, 97. There might have been mention of these characters further down. In fact, I think in comic books, in Marvel at least anyway, down the road, there was a mention of the Amalgam Universe noted as Earth 9602. So I suppose in the annals of Marvel folklore, this universe still exists somewhere. So I suppose that's something. There's a lot to be said when comic book companies get together to collaborate on these projects. I mean, I think it's more than just profit, really. I think it's a genuine desire to see what can happen when two great comic book companies get together and pit their characters and try and sort of see what can arrive from well, amalgamation, I suppose. There's no doubt in my mind that DC and Marvel must have slight jealousies with the other's characters. Must be. I mean, take someone like Batman, for example, such an iconic character. Then you take someone like Wolverine or Iron Man, who, as contemporary cultural figures, are huge on the scene ever since the breakthrough of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think even back in 1996, 1997, the 90s period, throughout, Wolverine was a very, very popular character, and Marvel was reaching great heights, no doubt. I mean, I say they were reaching great heights. The reality is there was a lot of talk of decline beginning in the 90s also, which is why so many crazy things happened in the 90s with comic books. I remember a period where Marvel characters, I think in particular, had this rebranding with in relation to their costumes, and a lot of leather shoulder pads, outfits that were unnecessarily skimpy as far as the female characters were concerned, started coming out. Obviously, I think a bad phase in the history of comic book costumes didn't last very long, but I think that was a way to try and combat the declining sales. Um, and I think, really, I mean, sales, if you think about it, comic books these days, how many people actually do read comic books in comparison to how many kids and adults were reading comic books back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. I mean, I think 80s was a huge period for comic book collectors. Anyway, I digress. I was talking about the Amalgam Universe. And the idea behind this universe was that two cosmic entities, brothers, were in a battle to determine which of their universes would exist. And thus, the heroes of each one of those universes was pitted against the other in order to decide which universe would survive based on the outcome of the fights between these alternate uh, universe heroes. I think in the end, the brothers were reconciled, and thus was born the Amalgam Universe. I'm not going to go into the massive details of the story behind, or the mythology and the origins of the Amalgam Universe, not, at least not in this video. But I wanted to actually concentrate on one particular figure that sprang out from this Amalgam Universe, and that would be the figure of Darkclaw. And in case you haven't figured out yet what this character looks like, uh, but I think most of you probably have. Darklaw is a mixture of, yes, Batman and Wolverine, and I think Wolverine element is given away by the long protruding claws on either hand, and that costume is obviously a Batman costume. Um, Even the alter ego of Darklaw is aptly named Logan Wayne, which of course is a complete amalgamation of Bruce Wayne and Logan James Howlett, of course Wolverine's actual name, but better known as Logan in the Marvel universe. A lot of people online seem to really like the costume and the look of this character. And look, the Darklaw costume is great. Yeah, why not? It's pretty good. In my opinion, it's a little there's a lot going on. There's a lot happening. I'm not a huge fan of the bat cutout claws. I think the smooth claws would have been better. The mask isn't doing it for me, and the stripes with the overall thing. Look, some people like it, some people love it. I'm okay with it. It's not bad. Yeah, physically, the character looks pretty okay. But the one character, as I was reading this comic, that surprisingly stood out and that I thought looked very impressive was this guy, the hyena. And the hyena is the Amalgam Universe version of, if you can't tell from that face, I'm going to tell you, the Joker. And I have to say that I'm quite impressed. I'm quite impressed by this rendition of the Joker, hyena, whatever you want to call him, because this looks like someone who could really give Batman, Darklaw, Wolverine a run for their money. I mean, this guy looks formidable. This guy looks dangerous. This guy looks like he can rip Batman to shreds. And as I understand from the hyena sort of information pack, he has similar powers to Darklaw, healing factor, claws, adamantium claws, retractable claws in his fingertips, and obviously built like a tank. And the one thing that I always found strange about the Batman stories was that his arch nemesis was the Joker, is the Joker even now. I suppose it could be. One could argue that is it still Joker? Is it now Bane ever since he broke Batman's back? I mean, is it Bane? Is it Joker? I don't know. I mean, it's difficult to tell now. And mythologies change all the time. But I mean, look, historically speaking, it's always been the Joker. But I always, and I think a lot of people always knew that in reality, if an actual fight took place between someone like the Batman, this tall, muscular, super, not super strong, but strong at the peak of human perfection character with years of training, and then the Joker, who was like this skinny, scrawny, pencil-necked psycho who basically goes around carrying a gun, shooting people, putting acid on them. If an actual fight took place between the two, I think one or two punches from the Batman would be enough to knock him out forever. And yet somehow he always manages to hold his own. Well, I say hold his own. He manages to sort of always come bouncing back, and that's because, of course, Batman doesn't go full wacko on him. Otherwise, we all know that Batman could kill him in 2 seconds flat, right? So the idea of a real threat, a real physical threat, was never there with the Joker. However, with this rendition of the Joker, hyena, you can tell there's a real threat. I mean, definitely. That's actually a pretty good panel there. I like that. That's nice. Now the origins and the basic folklore in relation to Darklaw it somewhat mirrors that of Batman from the normal DC universe. His parents he witnessed them being killed when he was 5 years old, went to live with his uncle in Canada, His uncle was, I think, in the Mounties, the Canadian Mounted Police. He got killed by some unscrupulous people, and then Logan joined the Canadian Air Force. Certain experimentations took place whilst he was in the Air Force, and as you can see, I believe that's him, and that's the hyena right there. In these experiments, which my understanding is that these experiments were done to create the perfect weapon to combat the forces of international evil which were there at that time. You had two subjects on whom the experiments were carried out. One was, of course, Logan Wayne, who I believe is the character on the left. Looks like Wolverine right there. That's an obvious Wolverine reference. And then the other one was this guy, the hyena chap. And as it would be noted, Logan was considered a failure. Right over here it says, "I was the failure, useless to them as a weapon, you see, because I was possessed of a conscience." But hyena clearly wasn't. So both of them out of control because Logan wouldn't do what they wanted. He wouldn't just kill anyone just like that. And hyena obviously was out of control because he would kill whoever whenever he wanted. So failures, which I suppose is a reference to the Weapon X project, isn't it? Really. Then of course you have the Bat Cave, or the Barrow. It's called here. It's called the Barrow, which makes sense because Darkclaw wouldn't have a bat cave. He'd have a barrow, wouldn't they? That's his parents who were killed. He's got a picture of them. The coin is still there. That's pretty amazing. So that's my hand, sorry. And instead of Robin in this universe, we have Sparrow. And yeah, sure, why not? Fine. So in this comic, there is a threat to assassinate the president, to be carried out by my favorite version of Joker, Hyena, right over here. I mean, he's a cool looking character. I have to say, I think I'm liking this guy's look better than Darkclaw's look, which is surprising. I didn't think I would, but yeah. And of course, Batman. Sorry, Darkclaw, Darkbat comes in to save the day, and that's one henched-looking hyena right there. Now you see, if the Joker posed that threat to Batman, we'd have something. We'd have a real interesting fight between the Batman and the Joker. But of course, the Joker, classic character. But like I say, I never thought he posed a real threat, which always makes you wonder, how did it last so long? I mean, seriously, how? But okay, comic books. Look, huge suspension of belief, right? We're all with it. Anyway, that's a pretty cool scene right there, because of course they also have adamantium in this universe, and yeah. So Darkclaw saves the president, Hyena escapes, and the next issue would be when I suppose they get together again to have another fight. Now, all in all, not a bad comic. It wasn't. Will it come back? Will they do something like this again? Maybe. Do they want to? I don't know. I think with the success of the MCU, the success, I suppose, can you call it the success of the DC EU? I don't know if they'll ever do a proper amalgamation like this ever again. I mean, maybe they'll do something in the movies. It'll be so amazing if they had a Marvel DC crossover in the actual, cinema. That would be pretty insane. But it might happen. I mean, it can happen in the comic books. Why can't it happen in the movies? But I think that the reason why these things might not happen anymore is because I think less and less people are actually reading comic books. And more of them are now relying on the cinema as their first source of comic book consumption. Am I happy with that? Not really. I think the great thing about comic books is that even though you're looking at the amazing artwork and you're reading the bubbles with the words, it's in front of your eyes. Still, there's a certain part of your imagination that kicks in because when you're reading those words, when you're reading that dialogue, you have a voice in your head. When you're seeing these characters stop motion in the comic books, you're already got it in your mind how they move, how they fight, how they interact. When you switch off the comic book and it's just in your mind, nowhere else. It's your mind that is the cinema. It's your mind that takes over. And you create this whole universe, you create this whole personality for the figures in your mind, which sticks with you, especially if you're a comic book reader from a young age. These things stick with you throughout your life. And with the movies, it's not the same. There's no use of imagination. It's just there, right, staring you in the face. Again, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it can work out really, really, really well, but sometimes it can be completely different to what you imagine the character as a child. Say, take for example Wolverine. Wolverine, short, stout fellow with a really crappy attitude, um, who's vicious all the time and doesn't really sort of show much of his emotions. And then you have obviously the Wolverine that we have right now with Hugh Jackman, who is 6 foot something or the other, handsome guy, tall, lanky, wiry, and does have a bit of an emotional streak, which comes out from time to time, and it's sort of like, okay, yeah, it's very different. It works really well, but that's not really the Wolverine that we had in the Marvel comics. This is a Wolverine for the masses, not a Wolverine for the die-hard comic book fan. Is that a bad thing? Well, I suppose it depends on your perspective. Me, as a die-hard comic book fan, I think I would have liked to see a more accurate depiction or representation of the Wolverine. Not to say that I don't like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, I do, but I think I've seen some depictions on YouTube, like fan-made movies, where it actually is closer to the truth as far as the Marvel character is concerned, and they've done a tremendous job. Um, I think the closest comic book representation of Wolverine that I've seen from the MCU is the Deadpool and Wolverine movie that just recently came out with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. And this the part I'm talking about is when he puts on the mask at the end. Wolverine puts on the mask, and you see his shredded arms, and he goes fighting. I think that's the closest representation that I've seen Marvel being able to pull off in the cinematic universe. But listen, it was a long time coming, but it finally happened. Anyhow, I will leave you with this splash page of Dark Claw and the hyena having a fight. Again, I think this version of the Joker is just absolutely amazing. Why can't they have something like this in the DC current DC universe? I mean, just give the Joker some souped up serum or something to make him more formidable. Because I think over here this works really, really well. The costume is amazing. I really like it. Um, Anyhow, that is my 2 cents worth, guys. Thank you for joining. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the like button. Helps out a lot. Helps me to stay motivated and focused on creating more content. And I hope to see you guys again next time in the next one. All right, guys, take it easy. Bye.